sectors of the industry have more differences than similarities, but let me just give a little political reality lesson here. Customers and policymakers do not differentiate between the market segments in the same way that we do. To them, solar is solar. And so we really need each other. We need each other if we want to build credibility, build public awareness, and policymaker and public support. So if we diverge significantly on advocacy and messaging, we're only going to hurt ourselves. So unity is really critical to our industry's shared success. So keep that in mind as we talk about this. So let me tell you how this morning's going to go. Right? You made it here, so your day is off to a great start. I'm going to spend a few minutes here on the stage sort of setting the conversation and telling you a little bit about some of the polling that we conducted. And then I'm going to bring out a couple of great panelists. They are marketing experts, communications experts, who, guess what? They're not solar experts. They do not wake up in the morning thinking about solar panels. They do not go to bed at night and dream about duck curves. Instead, they know how to communicate. And as we seek to answer that question, this is why they're going to give us feedback about how we can tell that solar story better. So let's get started. This is why we need to tell our story more effectively. So we recently, with our partners, commissioned a focus group in Texas to talk about solar, and we realized how little people know about our issues. We heard statements like, they really need to get their message out there, or I just need more facts, or even, I really just wish I knew more specifics. And that's our challenge. Our challenge is that despite our popularity, we face resistance from many utilities to greater solar adoption, and there is not yet a solar panel on every roof. And so take a listen to what former Secretary of Energy Ernie Moniz had to say about this.
I think the most important thing, first of all, is to make sure that the public understands what solar is bringing to the table. The enormous cost reduction. I think there's still an idea that somehow solar is very expensive. It's only for a certain narrow segments of the population. So I think number one is the public has to be completely educated in terms of the options with solar. I think once you educate the public, the policymakers tend to have an easier time following.
And I love that last thing that the Secretary said, convince the people and the policymakers will follow. Yet that's not quite as simple as it sounds. So consider this, the average person thinks about electricity about 8 minutes a year, okay? So we've already talked about it more this morning than the average person thinks about it. And as we, sorry, hold on, I am reading from a teleprompter. So as we think about what we need to communicate, we need to be a little bit more clear. All right, thank you. So how do we capture people's attention as they have their 8 minutes that they think about electricity a year? To help us answer that question, SEIA commissioned a poll by the Global Strategy Group. We polled 750 voters and 480 opinion leaders. And what did we learn? Well, we confirmed what most of us already know, that solar is the favored form of electricity. 3 out of 4 voters and 87% of college-educated voters think utilities should deploy more solar. Wind is a close second, as you can see, and coal and nuclear bring up the rear. On the policy front, there is wide support for a 50% renewable energy standard and also for net metering compensation. But as you know, public support and good feelings are not enough. We need to transition people from passive support to passionate action. So our polling also helped us discern what messages work and what messages will help us tell our story better. So we learned that messages about health and about air quality, messages about the economy and jobs, and messages about falling costs are the most resonant with voters. Arguments about energy choice and arguments about innovation for its own sake are much weaker. And our polling also tells us that making business models, we are posing a greater threat to many people. And they are investing in public relations and political campaigns that include misinformation about solar. And so we as an industry need to combat that fiercely. So let's talk about our target audience. Who is our target audience? On the positive side, certainly positive for people like me that live in Washington, solar has strong cross-partisan support. So not just bipartisan, but cross-partisan. Democrats, Republicans, and independents are all broadly supportive of solar. However, independents and Republicans have less intensity of support and less willingness to take action, and women are actually less inclined than men to take action. And that is driven by a larger skepticism about economics, including the costs. So what do we sort of discern from all that information? We know that there's a need to focus on economic-based messaging with center-right voters to help.
And for driverless cars, they see the